Good evening. My name's Corby. I'm the Executive Director of Coastal Housing Partnership. And who knew when I scheduled this webinar that the Dodgers would be playing tonight, and they just tied it up. So sorry about that. If you want to jump off this, I can definitely send you a recording of this evening's session. But if you want to stay on, great too. Looking forward to sharing information with all of you. So since this is a webinar, we can't hear you and we can't see you. So if you do have questions, please put them in the Q&A. And at the end of our time together, we will jump on those questions. And if you have any technical difficulties, please pop those into the chat. And I'll keep an eye on that, see if there's anything going on in there that's challenging for you all in terms of hearing or seeing. And as I mentioned, we'll be recording this. So if you'd like to have a recording of this evening's webinar, I'm happy to send that to you. You would just email me at Corby, C-O-R-B-Y, at coastalhousing.org. And that will be on the screen at the end. So if you didn't catch that, that will be there. And so let's get started. Oh, sorry, looks like I've, okay. Looks like I'm going to have to go into screen share again. So hold on just a second. All right, great. So just want to run through what your housing benefits are. Since you are employees of companies that are part of Coastal Housing Partnership, you have a number of housing benefits available to you, and there's no charge to you to use these benefits. So I encourage you to take advantage of them. Coastal Housing Partnership is a nonprofit organization, and our goal is to help local employees with their housing costs, whether they're buying a home, refinancing a mortgage, or renting, whatever you're doing in terms of your housing cycle, there's probably a way we can help you save money. So I want you to reach out to us and see if we can help you. So home buying education, this is the first step, being at the home buying webinar. You're going to find out the steps of the home buying process, how to navigate the lending world, and just really how to get started. Oftentimes that's a kind of a daunting task, where to start. We also have an online education tool at our website, coastalhousing.org, and that can be helpful in terms of finding out additional information about the home buying process. And we're going to start a series of webinars that include panelists, whether real estate agents will be on the panel, lenders will be on the panel, talking about market conditions and different aspects of the real estate market, and you'll be able to ask them questions. So keep an eye out for those. We'll definitely be doing that starting next month. There's home buying savings. So if you're buying a home, we can help you with your closing costs. Closing costs can be a bit of a surprise sometimes. Those are in addition to your down payment. And so we have a program, it's called our Home Buying Benefit Program, and we can save you money on your closing costs, usually about 50% or more. So it's a nice savings. Refinance, if you're refinancing a mortgage, and a lot of folks are doing that right now with today's interest rates are so attractive. We work with a number of local lenders who will offer savings on the closing costs for our employees. So that's something that you can take advantage of as well. And rental housing, we work with a number of local landlords that offer savings on the rent for our employees. So you can go to our website, and under member benefits, click on rental, and you see a list of the landlords that we work with. You would just contact them, let them know you're part of Coastal Housing Partnership, and there will be savings on the rent. For a studio or one bedroom, the savings is $600 per year. For a 2-bedroom or more, the savings is $900 per year. And we also have a rental search site. That URL is rentals.coastalhousing.org. And this is a great opportunity for you to go on to the site and find rentals that suit your criteria. You can put in, how many bedrooms you're looking for, what your location is, want a yard, what if the property takes pets, just whatever that criteria is, you can go and put that in there, and properties that fit that criteria will come up for you. And then once you leave the site, if properties that meet your criteria come onto the site, you'll be notified. You'll be sent an email that says there's a property that meets your criteria, check out the site, and you'll be able to keep abreast of what's going on in the market. So that's a great tool for you, rentals.coastalhousing.org. And you would just register with your work email. And there's no password. As long as you're registering with your work email, it will recognize you. The home buying benefit, as I mentioned, we can save you money on your closing costs. So the way that works is the savings come from local real estate professionals. And those are real estate agents, home inspection firms, lenders, residential developers. We work with a moving company, and they all contribute toward your closing costs. And so if you're using someone within our network, it's similar to, say, like a PPO. If you're working within network, there's a savings. You don't have to use someone in our network, but the savings come from those real estate professionals. So you want to use someone within that network. Here's an example of how that works. On a $600,000 home purchase, if you're using a lender on the list, I'm trying to be kind of conservative on this example. So sometimes you'll save more than this, but usually this is the minimum that you would save. You would save with the lender the loan processing fee and credit report fee, which is generally around $500. Some of the lenders we work with will just maybe waive the appraisal or take off a flat $700 or $1,000. It varies. You can just check out our website and see what each lender offers in terms of their closing cost contribution. The home inspection, we work with a number of home inspection companies, and they take 10% off the cost of the home inspection. The home inspection price will vary depending on the size of the unit you're buying. So if you're getting a condo, smaller condo, that's probably going to be a less expensive home inspection than if you're getting a 3-bedroom house. But you could check with the home inspector and see what that would be. Now, the home inspection is different from the appraisal. Sometimes people get those mixed up. The appraisal is something that the lender requires, and they want to verify the market value of the home before they lend on that home. The home inspection is something that you are, as the buyer, are contracting with a local home inspector, a professional that knows all of the ins and outs of home construction, and they're going to give you a report on the condition of the home. Is there any deferred maintenance, any repairs that need to be handled next, coming years, anything that they're looking at that they think is not up to speed in terms of condition. They're going to give you a report on that. And then you're going to have a really good feel for what you're getting into, because when we go into a home, we're looking at kind of the cosmetic things, the flooring, the condition of the kitchen, that kind of thing. But they're looking at the foundation, the roof, the plumbing, the electrical system, all of those aspects of the home. And those can be big ticket items. So you really want to know what's going on with those, and whether that's something that you're kind of getting in over your head. You thought that the home was in great shape, and you find there's a lot of repairs coming up, then you'd really want to know that. The great thing about the home inspection is once you have done that and you find that maybe it is a bit bigger of a project than you thought, you can get out of the transaction and still get your deposit back based on the home inspection contingency. So there's a lot of reasons for you to do that. It's really a wise idea. Wouldn't recommend trying to buy a home without a home inspection from a local real estate, local construction specialist. They're really going to help you with that. Now, the real estate agent, this is a little bit different category because the real estate agent, your agent, the buyer's real estate agent, you aren't paying the real estate agent. The seller pays both your agent, the buyer's agent, and their agent, the seller's agent. So this isn't going to be a discount to you. It's just a credit. And so what happens is typically the agents make about 2.5% of the purchase price. And that can vary, but 2.5% of the purchase price goes to your agent and 2.5% of the purchase price would go to the seller's agent and 2.5% goes to your agent. In this case, $600,000 example, 2.5% of that is $15,000. That's what your agent is making. Of that, they're going to give you 20%. So that gives you $3,000 to put toward other closing costs. So 20% of that $15,000 is $3,000. Again, you didn't have to pay that $15,000 to begin with, so it's not a discount. It's just a credit toward your closing costs. And that's going to happen through escrow, which means that you just come up with that much less at the close of escrow. So you can see here in this example, if you're using a lender, the home inspection company, the real estate agent, you're saving about $3,500. So that's a really nice savings for you to be able to take advantage of and reduce your closing costs. So, and as the price of the home goes up, obviously the savings goes up. You also, if you have a friend who's a lender and you don't want to use someone on our list, that's fine. You can still use the home inspection and the real estate agent savings. You don't have to use all of this. Obviously, the more you use, the more you're going to save. But that's up to you who you use. And when you check out our list online, that also is up to you within the list of lenders, the list of home inspection, the list of real estate agents. Who you choose is up to you. We're not a referral program, so you're like the 7th caller that we get that day. We're going to go down the list to the 7th real estate agent and say you have to work with this individual. You get to choose from our list who you want to work with. So you're checking out, you're doing the vetting and you're making sure that this is someone you're comfortable with, you like, maybe has some recommendations from friends. This is up to you who you use. Okay, let's get started on your path to home ownership. How do you start? The best place to start is with the lender. And it may not seem like the most fun place to start. Is obviously more fun going into houses and looking around, but you really want to understand how much you can afford. So without taking that step of talking to the lender first, you don't know that. You might have some preconceived notion of what you could afford, but you really don't know that because there's so much that goes into this that the lender's looking at. You really want to take that step. And then once the lender tells you how much you can afford, you're going to feel really confident going out and shopping for homes because that's the loan amount you have and you know what your down payment is. You know exactly your price range. So you're not going to be setting your sights too high or too low. You're not going to be getting excited about a property that you wind up not being able to afford or making an offer on something that doesn't make sense for you. So this is a really important first step. And you're also going to find out about other loan programs, what interest rates are, closing costs, just kind of the whole picture, and really be able to come up with a game plan as to getting started on buying your home. So there's no charge for you to get a pre-approval, and you are looking for a pre-approval, not a pre-qualification. That levels of pre-qualification can vary, but a very simple one. The lender might say, well, how much money does your household make? You tell them and they say, oh, well, based on that, we loan you this amount of money. So they haven't run your credit, they didn't verify income, they haven't done any of the steps that it takes to get to a pre-approval. A pre-approval is a guarantee from that lender that they're going to loan you that amount of money once you find the home that you want to buy. So as you can see, that's a really strong position to be in. It's a great position to be in if you are in a situation where there's multiple offers, and you are looking to have your offer recognized and come to the top. Having a pre-approval is going to be essential there. So take the time to get that pre-approval. As I mentioned, there's no cost for the pre-approval. They might charge you for the credit report, but I think that's money well spent. If they do, a lot of the lenders that we work with won't even charge you for the credit report. But if they do, like I say, I think that's a good step to take. It's really important to know what credit score they are working with. And you might think, well, I know my credit score. I have a credit card that tells me that every month. That's a consumer credit score. The lender is looking at a mortgage loan credit score. So that's what you want to be looking at. You want to know what they're looking at. And that mortgage loan credit score is what they're going to be looking at, which means that's going to determine what loan programs you're eligible for, what your interest rate's going to be. All of those things are going to be tied into that credit score. So it's really important to get that, as well as when you're working with a lender, they're going to be very helpful in terms of helping you improve your credit score. A lot of people will try to improve it on their own and often make mistakes doing that. So a lender can be very helpful to advise you on how to improve your score. They look at credit reports, credit scores all day long. They can very easily go down, look at your credit report and say, oh, this is the thing that's hurting you. Let's change this, or let's get that collection paid off, or whatever it is that they might recommend. It's important that you take that step and get your credit score to be as strong as possible. And as I mentioned, it's a really important negotiating tool when it comes time for you to make your offer. I also would recommend getting your pre-approval, even if you don't think you're ready to buy right away. The reason for that is you are going to get a game plan as to what steps you need to take. Are you needing to save for more down payment? Maybe you're going to find you have as much down payment as you need. Maybe there's a loan program that you only need 5% down, and you are ready to buy within 6 months, and you thought it was going to be 2 years. So I would take the step to see a lender right away and let them know that you're trying to just determine what you're eligible for and what your time frame would be. And a good lender is going to be happy to work with you. And even if you're not ready to buy right away, they'll come up with a game plan and start working with you to make sure that you are able to get into the home that you want to. So how do you get pre-approved? You fill out an application, which the lender will give you. And then the lender is going to review 4 things. They look at your credit, your debt, income, and your assets. So for your income, they're going to ask you for W-2 and probably a couple of years of tax returns. So they're wanting to verify your income, that you make the income that you've put on your application. Your assets. So they're looking for bank statements, stock accounts, retirement accounts, wherever you've saved money. They're looking, where's the down payment that you're going to be using to buy this home? So they want to see assets. Credit, they're going to check your credit. Your credit score is going to be really important. And then debt, how much other debt do you have? Now, what they're looking at when they're looking at debt is they're looking at the minimum monthly payment on the debt that you have. So they're looking at that and your ability to take on other debt based on the level of debt you have. Now, that being said, I would not go out and try to pay off all the debt that you have, would try to pay down all your credit cards. That's something to work together with the lender on. They're going to be able to advise you really well on that. And oftentimes people think, oh, I have so much debt, I'm going to try to pay this off, or I try to pay down a particular credit card. And they wind up using up some funds that could have been used for their down payment. And the lender might have said, that level of debt was completely normal. That's just fine. You didn't need to do that. So you really, before you kind of take any steps to try to improve your credit, to pay down cards, get yourself in a better position, talk to the lender first. That's really going to be an important step. So what the lender does to get you pre-approved is they kind of back into it by what's called a housing expense ratio. So housing expense to income ratio. They're looking at what is your housing expense divided by your gross income. And then they like to see that number at about 40%. That's going to vary. There's kind of no hard and fast rules around this, but that's kind of a ballpark, depending on what your credit is, what your other debt is. But that's what they're looking at, is that housing expense to income ratio. So what goes into a housing expense when you are buying a home? It's your mortgage payment, your real estate taxes or property taxes, homeowners insurance. If you're buying a condo, it would be the homeowners association fee, because that has your insurance, your homeowners insurance in that. And if you're buying a condo, then they're going to also add a small amount for interior coverage. It's a little bit like a renter's policy, something like that, but they're looking at making sure that your interior is covered in addition to the homeowner's insurance. And then optional mortgage insurance. We'll talk about mortgage insurance a bit more into our time together, but that if you are having mortgage insurance, that would go into your housing expense. So they're not looking at utilities or trash pickup or cable or anything like that. They're just looking at these aspects: the mortgage payment, real estate taxes, homeowners insurance, and maybe mortgage insurance. And again, seeing that at about 40% of your gross income before anything's taken out, before taxes or any other kind of benefits are taken out of your paycheck. So, as I mentioned, credit is a really important part of the process. Looking at your credit report and your credit score, getting pre-approved will impact your credit score, but not a huge amount, maybe 5 points, and that bounces back over time. So I think the trade-off for that, small dip in your credit score is totally worth it in terms of getting pre-approved. It's such an important tool to have. A lot of real estate agents won't even work with you if you don't have a pre-approval. So make sure you've got that pre-approval. It's very easy to get your, well, the pre-approval lasts as long as the credit report is good. And that varies by lender a bit, but that might be 90 days. So you've got a valid pre-approval for 90 days. It's very easy for you to get your pre-approval updated, what they call refreshed, but I would not get it updated every 90 days just because the credit score has expired. Because if you do that, then you will start impacting your credit score because you're having that credit score run every time. When you get your pre-approval updated, they'll rerun your credit. They're going to want to see an updated W-2 and updated savings statements. So that is going to start having an impact on your score. So you don't want to do that. As long as your income is staying the same and interest rates are pretty much the same, your pre-approval is good. And it gives you, it's a tool. It's making sure you know what you can afford, and you're still going to have that tool. Now, when it comes time to make an offer, of course, you want to get it updated, and it's worth the impact on your credit score at that point. You would just let your lender know, I'm ready to make an offer. Can you just give me an updated pre-approval letter? So they will do that. So your credit score does impact your interest rate. Better your credit score, the better your interest rate. So of course you want it to be as strong as possible. And again, talk to the lender about the things that you're going to do to help you improve your score. A lot of times we do things that are very smart financially, but they might hurt our credit score just because of the way the scoring model works. For instance, maybe you're putting all of your expenditures onto one credit card. And the reason you're doing that is you're getting either some kind of a rebate at the end of the year, or you build airline miles or hotel points. So smart, good decision. However, because you're doing that, you're putting maybe all your expenditures onto this one credit card, you might be using up a lot of your credit limit. If you're using more than about 20% of your credit limit, that's going to have a negative impact on your score. Just not something that you would know. You'd think, fine, I have a credit limit, why can't I use it? So those are the kinds of things that a lender can identify for you, and you can start making adjustments so that your score can be improved. So how a loan is priced is really important, particularly if you are comparing loan rates among lenders. The pricing, of course, includes interest rate and also points and fees. So the interest rate is what runs with the loan for the life of the loan. And points and fees are closing costs. We talked about closing costs and how we can help you reduce your closing costs. Points and fees are lender fees. Other closing costs are going to be escrow fees and title insurance fees. But those are the three main ones: the lender fees, escrow, and title insurance. So points and fees are paid upfront. All closing costs are paid upfront, meaning before you close on the home, you have to come up with that money. So the points and fees are paid upfront. You would want to ask the lender, what are your fees? Tell me what all your fees are. And generally they're going to be processing fee, credit report fee, appraisal fee, application fee. So ask them, what are the amounts of those fees? And then when they're quoting you that rate, are they quoting you with points or not? So points are prepaid interest. So it's up to you whether you pay points or not. You don't have to, but pricing is often, definitely includes points, whether you're paying them or not. So since they're prepaid interest, it means if you are paying points, you're going to pay a little lower interest rate. If you're not paying points, you're going to pay a little higher interest rate. So that's up to you whether you do that or not. So a point is 1% of the loan amount. So if you're paying a point on a $500,000 loan, you're paying 1% of that loan amount, or $5,000. So $500,000 loan, 1%, $5,000. So you're having to come up with that money up front. But it also means you're going to pay a little lower interest rate for the life of the loan. So should you pay points or not? This is completely up to you whether you do that. You just want to make sure you understand when a lender offers you a rate. So say one lender says it's 3% interest with 1 point, and another says, well, it's 3.25% interest rate, no points. And you're saying, well, how do I evaluate those two? So you would want to look at what is the cost of that interest, what's the monthly cost of that interest, and then what is the point? How fast would it take for you to pay for that point? Let's run through an example. So you've got a $500,000 loan and you're paying 1 point, $5,000 upfront. Now, maybe because you've paid that point, you are getting a reduction in your interest rate of about $1,000 a year. So if you're reducing your interest rate by $1,000 a year, you paid $5,000 up front. At the end of 5 years, you've paid off that investment of the point, or $5,000. Now you have that loan, say you stay in there for another, you stay there for 30 years, which is the life of the loan. For another 25 years, you're going to save another $1,000 every year, or $25,000. So that was a good decision. You paid $5,000, you recouped that investment in 5 years, and then you saved another $25,000 over the life of the loan. So in that case, that made sense. So say you're only going to be in that property for 3 or 4 years. You think it's a starter home, and then you're going to move into a different home. So you only have that loan for, say, 4 years. Okay, you pay a point, or $5,000. Your savings is $1,000 every year. So you're going to get $1,000 every year back for 4 years, for $4,000. You paid $5,000 to get that $4,000 back. So that didn't make sense. So generally, the shorter term that you have for the loan, the less sense it makes for you to pay points. The longer time you plan to be in that loan, in that home, the more sense it makes to pay points. And of course, it depends on whether you have the money to pay points. So maybe you're using your savings for your down payment. It might make more sense to put that money on your down payment and get a lower interest rate on your loan because you have more money on that down payment. So you're really looking at weighing all of those things together. But I just want you to understand how that pricing works so that you are accurately comparing pricing across lenders. So it's interest rate, points, and fees. And then types of loans, the loan and the loan term. The loan term is the length of the loan. So most home loans, particularly first-time homebuyer home loans, are going to be 30-year terms. And the reason for that long term is because you're borrowing a lot of money and you've got to pay it back over that term. So what it means is that every month you're paying a portion of that mortgage payment is paying back or paying interest, and then a portion is paying back what you borrowed, amortizing that loan. So if you have a shorter term loan, you're paying back a big chunk of that amount that you borrowed every month, and that makes your payments, kind of go sky high. So a 30-year term kind of makes that much more reasonable. And you're going to see lower interest rates on shorter terms, which you think, well, that's attractive. Maybe I should go with a 15-year loan. And that is going to be better in terms of the interest rate, but you're going to be paying a much larger portion of principal back, which might make the payment unaffordable for you. So generally, you're looking at a 30-year term. But a lot of times once people are, say, refinancing, they look at, well, I've paid down, like 10 years or 5 years. And so I don't want to get a 30-year term again. I might want to go with a 20-year loan. So there's all sorts of different options for you at that point. Now, the types of loans, that's going to be, the type of loan is going to be a fixed rate loan or an adjustable rate loan. So a fixed interest rate loan means that you're paying the same interest rate or the same payment every month for the life of that loan. It doesn't matter what happens to interest rates in the market. Your interest rate is going to be the same the entire life of the loan. So that's, in terms of interest rate risk, that's going to be a very conservative loan for you. The way a lender looks at this, though, is that they're getting the same amount of money from you regardless of what happens to interest rates. So if interest rates go up, they're still getting that same, say, 3% from you. So they're pricing a fixed rate loan the highest. That's going to be the highest interest rate, is a fixed rate loan. That being said, our interest rates are really low right now. So even at a fixed rate loan, it's a really attractive rate. But that's the way a fixed rate loan will be. And then your other option is with an adjustable rate loan. So that means that if interest rates in the market change, your interest rate can change as well. So that's going to be priced cheaper at the beginning than the fixed rate loan. And you want to ask the lender, how frequently can that loan adjust? How much can it adjust each time it adjusts? And what's the cap? What's the maximum that it can go to over the life of the loan? You want to make sure you don't lose your home because you can't afford that payment. So you really want to understand that. And they usually can give you a printout, very simple, that just shows what your maximum payments would be for, so say it can only adjust once a year, and it can only adjust up to 1% each year. They're going to show you what that will look like so that you can see what the worst case scenario is and make sure that that's something that you can afford. So the adjustable loan can change. It changes with a certain index, and it has a certain frequency that it can change, and that it has a certain maximum amount that it can change to. Ask the lender what those are, and don't just ask, does it go from a 2.5% interest rate to a 3% interest rate? Because that doesn't mean anything to you. Does it go from a $1,500 payment to a $2,000 payment? Those are the things that you're wanting to understand. How's the payment going to change? Now, sometimes people look at this fixed and adjustable loan and think, well, these are kind of two extremes. This fixed rate loan is fixed for 30 years. It's priced higher, and I really don't plan to be in that home for 30 years. But an adjustable rate loan, I'm not really sure what's going to happen to interest rates over the short term. I'm not sure what's going to happen, and I don't want my payments to get out of control. There is a feature on an adjustable rate loan that allows you to have a fixed period of, or a certain period of a fixed rate loan. So you've got an adjustable loan, and the interest rate might be fixed for 3 years or 5 years or 7 years or 10 years. So you pick whatever that term is. So that gives you certainty for that period of time. And you might tie that to your holding period that you're looking at and seeing if that makes sense for you. So the longer period that you have for that fixed rate, the more expensive that loan's going to be. So the adjustable rate is the cheapest, fixed is going to be the most expensive. And when you start adding fixed terms onto the adjustable, that starts being more expensive as well, but it should be less than the fixed rate loan, 30-year fixed rate loan. All right, do you need 20% down? That's always the big question. People think they have to save 20%. And it used to be if you didn't have a 20% down payment, you didn't get into a house. That's the only loan option that lenders had. But it's expensive in this market. And coming up with 20% down is a challenge. So lenders have looked at ways that they can get you into a home with less than 20% down payment. So don't think you have to save up 20% down. That does give you the best interest rate on your mortgage, because if you have an 80% mortgage and 20% down payment, that 80% mortgage gives you a really great interest rate. But if you don't have the 20% down and you're thinking, well, gosh, it's going to take me another 5 years to save that up, and you're thinking you want to get into the market sooner than that, you might look at some of these low down payment options. And when you're talking to lenders and trying to interview lenders, that might be one of the first questions you ask. If you do need less, say a 5% down or 10% down loan, ask them if they have a number of low down payment loan options. And that's, you're going to want to see a variety of those. Now, how does the lender go about being confident in making a loan to you if, say, you only have 5% down? That's not that much money. It's not money to us, but from the lender standpoint, they've got more invested in that property than they'd like to. One of the ways is through mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance is insurance that you, as the borrower, are paying premiums on, and the lender benefits if you default on the loan. So this is if you getting private mortgage insurance, you would pay generally 0.6 to 0.8% of the loan amount each year. And that's going to vary depending on your credit score, depending on how much down payment you have. But that's how that mortgage insurance works. Now, once you get to 20% equity, you do not have to pay the mortgage insurance any longer, as long as it's private mortgage insurance. So you would ask the lender how you get rid of that mortgage insurance, because you don't want to keep paying that beyond that point where you get to 20% equity. And how do you get there? You get there two ways. It's kind of converging, that every month you're paying down some principal, and that's going to build equity. So every month you're building equity and getting closer to that 20% equity. And if the market is appreciating, your home's going to go up in value. As your home goes up in value, you're building equity there as well. So you want to keep an eye on what's happening in the market, what's happening in your neighborhood. Is your home gone up in value? Do you think you're to that 20% equity point? Do you want to get rid of that mortgage insurance as soon as you can? Now there's a piggyback loan. And a piggyback loan is 2 loans. You're getting an 80%. All the percentages are percentage of the purchase price. You're getting an 80% first loan. It's called a first loan because it gets paid off first if you default on the loan. So from the lender's standpoint, that's the least risky loan. Then there's another loan. That's what's called a piggyback. There's 2 loans. The second loan is going to be, so say you have 10% down, that second loan would be 10%. So you have an 80% first, 10% second. It's called second because it gets paid off second if you default on the loan. So because it's a riskier loan, the lender charges more money for that second mortgage. So the first mortgage of 80% is going to be a great interest rate. The second mortgage is going to have a little higher interest rate. Combined interest rate is probably going to be pretty attractive. The nice thing about the piggyback loan is there's no mortgage insurance. So you're looking kind of trading off. Do I want to pay mortgage insurance, or do I want to pay a little higher rate on that second mortgage? So those are a couple of options. FHA. Now, a lot of real estate agents will tell you about FHA, and that can have some great features, but I also want to let you know about some downsides so you're aware of that if you're looking at exploring an FHA loan. The great thing about FHA is 3.5% down payment. So that's really low. And you also don't need as high of a credit score. So if your credit score is not as strong, sometimes an FHA makes sense to go that direction. The downside to FHA is that the mortgage insurance is government mortgage insurance. So it's determined by the government what the restrictions are on that. So FHA mortgage insurance has 1.75% of mortgage insurance up front. So in addition to your 3.5%, you're coming up with 1.75% for mortgage insurance, or almost 2 points. Now you can roll that into the loan amount, but then you do have a larger loan payment every month because you've got a larger loan. So that's something you want to look at, 1.75% mortgage insurance upfront. Private mortgage insurance, there's not mortgage insurance up front generally. And then the annual mortgage insurance is 1.5%. So it's about double private mortgage insurance. So it's more expensive. But the big downside is that you can never get rid of the government mortgage insurance. You can never get rid of mortgage insurance with an FHA loan until you refinance that loan, or sell the home and pay off the loan. So you're paying that mortgage insurance for the life of the loan. So it becomes a pretty hefty obligation if you're looking at FHA mortgage insurance. So you really want to understand that. The VA loan, a veteran's loan, that's a great opportunity to get in with 0% down, no mortgage insurance, and there's an application fee, and that application fee varies depending on your status as a veteran. But if you are a veteran, definitely explore that loan. It's a really nice opportunity. There's a lot of other low down payment loan options. You would just ask the lender, what are the other low down payment loan options? I'm thinking about getting in with 5% down or 10% down. What are my choices? What do you have? And what does that look like for me? So it's always worth exploring and seeing whether you want to get in to the market sooner rather than later. Okay, now you've got your loan approval, and it's time to start working with the real estate agent. As I mentioned, a lot of agents aren't even going to work with you until you have that pre-approval, because they don't know what price range to be looking at for you. So I highly recommend working with a real estate agent. A lot of people say, oh, well, gosh, there's so much information on the internet. I'm sure I'm going to be able to find the property that I want without using an agent. And you might be able to do that, but I think one of the huge aspects, the value that the real estate agent brings to you is helping you know what to offer on that home. So, gosh, a lot of homes, if you go in thinking, you're going to get a reduced price on something, probably won't happen. This market is pretty competitive, and there's generally multiple offers. So even if you come in with full price, you might not have your offer anywhere near accepted because people are bidding over asking price. So the real estate agent is going to know the value of that property, and it's going to be able to advise you on, hey, I think we need to come in 15,000 higher than the asking price, I think, for us to be, get this accepted. And oftentimes they'll be talking with the other real estate agents saying, hey, you have other offers that are coming in. They just have a lot of intel that they're sharing that we, just by looking on the internet, finding a house that we really like and thinking we can afford it, that's not enough information to really be competitive. So get a real estate agent working for you. As we see from the beginning, if you're using one of the, using any real estate agent, you're not going to pay for them. The seller's paying them. If you're using one of the ones on our list, they're actually going to give you a portion of their commission. So it's a great to have a real estate professional on your side. It's very likely that the seller is going to have an agent representing them. And so they have a professional representing them. You should too. So I really recommend doing that. In terms of your role of working with an agent, you really want to communicate what's important to you. You want to make sure they're going to show you properties that make sense for you, that meet your criteria. So there's always must-haves and then there's wish lists. So share with all that information with them and let them know. And oftentimes as you're going through the process, you're going to find that your must-haves might change a little bit. Your priorities for that might be modified because you're going to find out, wow, it's quite a bit more expensive to get that 3-bedroom than a 2-bedroom. Didn't realize that. Maybe we should get into a 2-bedroom and, just try to find a place with a yard. That might be an adjustment that you're making in terms of your priorities. So communicate those changes to them, because then they may have a whole nother range of homes that they can show you that meet that new criteria. So make sure it's someone you really like, you're communicating well with, and you trust. The same thing with the lender, with the real estate agent. That's your home buying team. You want to make sure that you feel confident in them, that you trust them, that you communicate well with them. Those are all really important factors in terms of working with your home buying team. Okay, what do you need to do in terms of using the Coastal Housing Partnership Program? As long as your employer is a member of Coastal Housing, you are eligible. We don't have any income restrictions. We're not strictly first-time home buyer program. Anybody can use the program if they're a move-up buyer, or if they're downsizing, whatever, they can have purchased homes before. And as I mentioned, there's no income restrictions. You can be buying a market rate unit or an affordable unit. As long as you're buying a home in Santa Barbara County, Ventura County, or San Luis Obispo County, you would be eligible to use our home buying benefit program, the savings on the closing costs. And you just need a letter of authorization. So what you do is you go to our website, which is coastalhousing.org, and there's 6 squares on that homepage, and one of them says letter of authorization. Click on that. You can fill out that online form, or you can download the form if you like and send it in. That information will come to us. It doesn't matter what you put on there. There's nothing that's going to disqualify you as long as you are a current employee of a member company. We ask some information there in terms of income, how long you've been working there, just because that's what we need to keep that data as a nonprofit organization, but it would not change your eligibility at all. We then send you a letter of authorization. It's very simple. It just says, as an employee of so-and-so company, this individual is eligible to use the Coastal Housing Partnership benefits. That's what you would show to the real estate agents, the lenders, the home inspection firms, anyone you're getting that savings from. And then, as I mentioned, you're going to provide that letter to the network service partners. Now, for the network partners, if you're using a lender on the list, pretty much any of those lenders are going to be able to help you in any of those 3 counties, regardless of where you are buying. So if you find a lender on the list that you like, they're going to be able to help you borrow on a home in Ventura County, Santa Barbara County, or San Luis Obispo County. The real estate agents are going to have a little narrower geographical area that they work in. So you really want to make sure you're working with an agent that knows the area that you're interested in purchasing. So, and you'll also see on the list of agents that you'll see a company, and then the agents will be listed below. So just because you see the company there doesn't mean that every agent in that particular company participates. They're independent contractors, and they each decide whether they sign up or not. So you want to make sure you see your agent listed and making sure you're working with an agent that is going to provide you that savings. Because again, the savings doesn't come from us. It comes from the agents, from lenders, the home inspection, and also the moving company. I forgot to mention that we do work with a local moving company, Move Green, and they will take 10% off the labor and closing costs for you. I'm sorry, labor and supplies, cost of supplies. Got closing costs on my mind. So if you want to use that moving company, there's nice savings there for you as well. Okay, now it's time for our questions. It looks like if anyone has questions, you can throw them into the Q&A, and I can answer those. The first one is termite inspection included in the inspection report? No, it's not. Those are two different reports. It says, if not, why? I'm not sure why exactly, but there are termite inspectors that actually come out, and that's what they do. They're just going to look at, is there dry rot? Are there termites? And that's kind of their specialty. And there's going to be a separate charge for that. And they're going to give you just information around the, if there's termites or if there's dry rot in the property. And then the home inspector is going to look at the other aspects of the home. And you want to make sure you understand what is going to be covered in that. So say, you are concerned that maybe there's mold in that home. You would ask the home inspector, are you going to look at that? Or do you analyze that and tell me whether there's mold in the home? So you would want to look at that. And if they don't, then maybe you want to get someone out there who specializes in that. So oftentimes the home inspection is, very thorough, but kind of also a little more general. So say you are buying on a hill, and you probably want to have a geological inspection done. So there's more specifics that you get into if you have more specific concerns. Another question is, what is a regular home inspection? So the home inspection is, as I mentioned, the buyer, you as the buyer or asking a professional to come out and take a look at the home. And they're going to look at the things that are generally hidden to us. They're going to be looking at the foundation, the plumbing, the electrical systems, is, do some of the, switches not work? Are the appliances working? Is the roof need to be repaired? Do they see any evidence of leaking? All of those things go into that. And you can ask them when you're interviewing them, say, what things do you cover? Just so you have a real good understanding of that. It's a really good idea when you have the home inspection ordered, that you are there with the home inspector. It's, these people are really good at telling you what's, going on with the home, and they write up a nice report and pictures and, tell you everything. But when you're walking through with them, you might catch something and say, well, what about this? Is this a problem? Is this a concern? And they can answer that for you right there on the spot. And so, it's just really good to go through with them, because when you're just reading the report, you might look at that, I don't know what they're talking about here. But if you've walked through with them and said, well, what is this? And they say, hey, this is a really great heating unit, but make sure you change these filters at least every 3 months or whatever. They might know kind of some, quirks of a particular system, and then they could share those with you. So really good idea to be there when the home inspection is scheduled. Are there any other questions? Just had those two come in, and happy to kind of hang out here a bit while some more questions come in. I do want to mention our home buying education tool. It's online, so you go to coastalhousing.org, and under home buying education, just click on home buying education and you'll see that tool. It's called Your Path to Home Ownership, and it's broken up into seven different steps of home ownership. And it starts with just pros and cons of home ownership. What's involved in that? Is this something I even want to take on? Is this a good idea? How long should I plan to be in a home if I'm going to buy? I may be moving away for, all these different kinds of things to analyze what makes sense. Or maybe you've already, met with your lender, and now you're looking for a real estate agent, trying to determine, how do I interview the agent? What's involved in that? How do I pick an agent? Or you're trying to understand about closing costs and escrow and what's involved in that. All of those steps are broken down. And we've tried to take, there's so much information on the internet. We've tried to take the information that's really essential to you, that you can understand what's going on with a particular area, and then giving you links if you want to kind of do a deeper dive into some of those areas and find out a little bit more. And all of these areas. We've also tried to take it away from anybody being very salesy or anything, that we've tried to have these be nonprofit or neutral sources that we're sharing with you. But that's a really good place to go to also get more information. Okay, it looks like that is all of our questions. And we're just kind of coming up on time. If you do have questions, please reach out at any time. Oftentimes, as you go through the process, questions come up for you. You can see my email here. It's corby@coastalhousing.org. And please reach out if you do have questions. There is one other question. Any additional closing fees? So as I mentioned, the typical closing costs are going to be escrow fees, title insurance fees, and lender fees. So those are the big ones. There's also going to be a few other fees. So if you're buying a condo, there might be fees associated with getting some of the reports from the condo association. They're also going into your closing costs are going to be what are called prepaids. So they're kind of not really fees, because so say you pay into escrow 3 weeks in advance of your mortgage payment. Well, this is a payment you're going to have to make anyway because it's your mortgage payment, but you're paying it up front into escrow before you close on the house. So you pay that up front. It's not really a fee, but it is a closing costs. Also, that would happen with your property taxes. Property taxes are generally paid twice a year. So if the seller has already paid a portion of those taxes for the year, you'd be paying some money into escrow to reimburse the seller for that portion of the property taxes that they've already paid. So there's a number of fees like that. And if it's with the condo, your homeowners association fees would probably be paid a month in advance in there, as well as a portion of the rest of the month that you are getting. So say you're buying on the 15th, you've got another 2 weeks. So you pay another half of that fee. So those would be included in there. So those closing costs can climb a bit, but part of them, as you are going to be aware, is fees that you would have had to pay or costs that you would have had to pay the next month. And now you don't have to pay those. So that makes that next month a little bit easier. Okay, any other questions that you think of at this point? Yes. Is that why it takes so long to close? Closing can be different. Obviously, if you're a cash buyer, that's the fastest close, because the lending piece of it is generally what takes a long time to close. Now, if you can put in your offer agreement any amount, say you want a 90-day escrow. Fine, you can put that in there. Now that kind of can be one of the tools that makes it your offer more valuable to the buyer or the seller. I'm sorry. So say the seller hasn't found another place to go and they need to find a home. Giving them a longer escrow might make your offer more attractive. Or maybe they need to move and you having a 30-day escrow makes it more attractive. That's something your real estate agent is going to help you with. But in terms of why it would take so long to close if you wanted to have a shorter time period, it's mostly because of the lender. They're having to get all of those documents approved. And right now they're very busy. So you would always want to ask your lender because there's a lending contingency period in your offer agreement. And it'll say you've got 21 days, I'm looking up a number, 21 days to get your loan contingency signed off on. What that means is you want to make sure that your lender can verify that they're going to be able to get that home appraised. So you have to have an appraiser come out, look at the value of that home that you're buying in relation to other homes that are similar to that, and making sure that that is something that's that number is close to your offer agreement. And then the lender is going to have to take this through underwriting. So generally, those are the things that take the longest, is the lending portion of it. And so you would ask the lender, how long should I put on in terms of my offer agreement? So that's going to be really important. Generally, that's what's taking a long time to close. And then of course you're wanting to do your home inspection, and it takes a while to get someone out there to do your home inspection and then to analyze that. So any other kinds of tests or inspections that you want to do, you want to have that period to get that done. Okay, great. Those are good questions. I appreciate you asking those. Anyone else? Okay, well, I want to thank you for joining this evening. And again, I hope you reach out if you have any questions, and reach out to us to get your letter of authorization. And I wish you success on your path to home ownership. Good night.